Regulars to this channel will know that I have taken a very positive outlook in the fight against corruption, while most of you out there have taken the opposite stand. Yeah, you've been very skeptical. Well, it seems you guys are right, because developments every day are not good news. Now, the very latest is the governor of Busia, Sospita Ojamong, appeared in court today. And guess what? Several of the witnesses to give evidence against him have disowned their statements. What? Now, you know what that means? No witnesses, no evidence strong enough to convict, and therefore no conviction. Now, this happened only today, 12th of September 2018. So we wait to see how it develops. But definitely it does not look good. Anyway, on to the analysis of the major news of the day. After over 1 week, of failing to speak to the press, avoiding the press in some instances, by taking a back door, generally not wanting to talk to the press, suddenly the governor of Migori, Obado, gave a press conference. Now. Was that press conference fascinating or what? And it was not even what the Migori governor said. Because to be honest with you, he said absolutely nothing. Okay? Anyway, we shall come back to that. We shall analyze it in great detail, as well as other developments in the very unfortunate Sharon Otieno saga. But first, I thought that most of you would be very interested in another case very similar to that of Sharon Otieno, where a woman was murdered. It also involved politicians, where a woman was murdered, and 40 years later, no justice. I'm telling you, this Kenya of ours. Now, of course, this is the same thing a lot of Kenyans are predicting. Those who know Kenya well, those who know what happens in this our country that we love so much, are predicting that the Sharon Otieno case, mpende mspende, at the end of the day, there'll be no justice. There'll be no justice for the poor family of Sharon Beryl Otieno. Now, I'm hoping against hope that this time, many people will be proved wrong. I'm praying against all hope, that justice will be done this time round. That the family of the late Sharon Otieno shall receive justice. Anyway, on to this case. Now, this one happened in March 1978. Now, you might say, oh, what was happening those days? But you're going to be surprised, because there are a lot of similarities, very striking similarities, with the Sharon Otieno case. Now, I know that many of us who take in this channel are aware of Ngei Estate. So next time you pass that estate, and you pass house number 64, you'll have a history of that house, because that is where the subject of this fascinating case that held Kenyans spellbound for over a year used to live. In that house lived a drop-dead gorgeous, very beautiful army captain called Judy Angaine. On March 30th, 1978, the body of Judy Angaine, or Captain Judy Angaine, was found in the bathtub, floating, and the bathtub was overflowing. Actually, the water even reached the door, so that the first people to come to the house and discover the body were first met with the water flowing from under the door outside the house. Now, I'm not sure if they still have bathtubs in Ngei Estate, but bathtubs are the places where you sit down, fill it with water, and have a bath. Many younger Kenyans have never even seen a bathtub in their whole entire life. That's a fact. The captain was naked on the bathtub, and moving to her bedroom, it was in a mess. Clearly, there'd been a struggle in there. The government pathologist at that time, Dr. A.L. Ribeiro, after conducting the post-mortem, said that she had died from being strangled. Asphyxia, And before she had died, she had been sexually assaulted. Raped, if you like. Now, at the time of her death, President Jomo Kenyatta founding father of the nation, was president of the country. But by the time the murder trial of the person who was charged with her murder ended, about 2 months after August, Kenya had a brand new president, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. Anyway, about a month after the body of Judy Angaine had been first discovered, a soldier, a major in the army, a Major David Kimeu Kisila, was arrested and charged for the murder of Judy Angaine. Now, this was very sensational news in a case which was already proving to be extremely sensational, as far as Kenya was concerned. Kenya had never seen such a big murder trial since that one of Nahashon Jenga, the man accused of shooting Tom Mboya, in 1969, and this was 1978. Now, one of the reasons for this is that Judy Kaburu Angaine was no ordinary lady. Apart from being a captain in the military, she was the daughter of a very senior cabinet minister, a man called Jackson Harvest Angaine, who had been a cabinet minister since independence. He was referred to as the King of Meru, because he had no competitor as far as Meru politics was concerned. He totally dominated it till his death. Indeed, many Nairobians refer to this case as Kesi ya Wakubwa, loosely translated, the case of big men. And we shall find out why in a moment. But for starters, the late Judy Angaine was not just a daughter of a nobody. We've already established that. Now, I was a very young boy at the time, but I remember my political lecturer telling me that this major in the army, David Kisila, had sold some family land up country in order to afford to hire a very expensive and a very renowned lawyer in Nairobi to defend him. A lawyer who had never lost a single case, and he always took big cases, murder, etc., etc. The name of that lawyer, indeed a legend in the corridors of justice in Kenya, was Byron Georgiadis. Now, Georgiadis did not have a big reputation for nothing, and in this case, he did not disappoint, and I shall talk about his strategy in a minute. Now, the prosecution's case against Major David Kisila was mainly circumstantial. And of course, one of the biggest things was a motive. He had a motive. You see, at the time of the death of Captain Angaine, the major and the captain, Judy Angaine, were living together in a kind of come-we-stay arrangement in that Ngei Estate House number 64. They had 2 joint accounts together, and they even had a mortgage together. And indeed, in one of those accounts, bank accounts, the late Judy Angaine had signed herself as Mrs. Judy Gloria Kimeu. Kimeu was the middle name of David Kisila. Major Kisila told the court that he was deeply in love with the late captain. In fact, the only thing that had stopped them from getting officially married was that the lady's father had failed to give his consent. And he had failed to give his consent without actually saying no. What he had said is that it was okay, the major would go ahead and marry his daughter, but he could only do it after the daughter retired from the military. Hiyo kali kweli. Now, in those days, it was taboo to get married without the permission of the parents. So the two loved each other, so they just moved in together. So back to the prosecution case. Now, something very interesting had happened the night before Judy was murdered. She had returned from a trip out of town and had gone straight to her dad's office, who was then the Minister of Lands and Settlement. And after she came out of her dad's office, she met yet another cabinet minister, a man called Paul Ngei. Paul Ngei offered her a lift, and she accepted. And the two ended up back at her place, where Judy's husband, come-we-stay husband, found them drinking whiskey. Cabinet Minister Paul Ngei and Captain Judy Angaine. Now, folks, impunity with people's wives started a long time ago, because Bwana Kimeu seemed to be completely powerless in this situation. Because after those drinks in his house with the cabinet minister, his wife, Judy Angaine, left with the minister for more drinks at Langata Club and Woodley Club, leaving the husband at home. Obviously, he was not invited for this drink. Gosh. Now, fascinatingly, when his wife got back home later that night, she was injured. Yeah, she had been involved in a car accident. And what is even more mind-boggling was how the accident happened. According to Judy Angaine, what had happened is that as Cabinet Minister Ngei was driving her back home, he attempted to touch her breasts after proclaiming his love for her, his love for a married woman. Now, according to what Judy told her husband, she resisted, and as they wrestled, her resisting him holding her, and again insisting on holding her, the car lost control and overturned 3 times. And a good Samaritan drove her home. She was still in pain, so her husband took her to hospital, where she was treated, and they returned home. And although she was still in pain, she slept till the next morning. Now in the morning, she was still in pain, and the husband looked at her condition and decided that she had to be returned to hospital. But the captain was stubborn. She refused to go back to hospital. She gave her husband some keys to take to her workplace and to make excuses for her. And it also included a note excusing herself, saying that she was not going to be able to come because she was involved in an accident. But very, very strange, Judy Angaine also said that she was expecting a visitor at 10:30 a.m. But she did not reveal who this visitor was. And Major Kisila decided to go and talk to one of her sisters. Those days there were no mobile phones. And bring back the sister with him so that they convince Judy Angaine to go back to hospital. And when he came back with Judy's sister, is when they found the body. They found her dead in the house. Now the prosecution said they had a case because here there was a case of jealousy. The man's wife had been taken out by a cabinet minister. Therefore, Bwana Kisila, according to the prosecution, had a very big motive for murdering his wife. But it was all circumstantial, because in those days there was no DNA. Because had there been DNA, it would have been very easy. She was sexually assaulted, so it was just a matter of getting the DNA samples and comparing them to a suspect, and they would easily get their man. Now, to many who were following the case at the time, the case of the state looked quite strong and difficult to defeat. But then Byron Jujadis got to work, and he used a very effective strategy used by defense lawyers all over the world in murder cases. To convict a person of murder, there must be zero doubt. There should be no doubt. Okay? So the strategy is to create doubt by actually creating other possible suspects. Unfortunately for Jujadis, Judy Angaine's character and her lifestyle made it very easy for him to do that. And he started by producing a Valentine's Day's card, sent to a Joseph Lithimbi. Joseph Lithimbi was actually the father of Judy Angaine's 9-year-old son. Then he also highlighted the Paul Ngei connection, the incident and drama that involved Cabinet Minister Paul Ngei the very previous day to Judy's death. Now apparently, Judy had love affairs with several men at the same time, because there was yet another man in the picture. Indeed, yet another cabinet minister. The name of that cabinet minister was Jeremiah Nyaga. The Jeremiah Nyaga was a lover to Judy Angaine as well. But what really saved Major Kisila from the gallows was the very careful timelines that Byron Jujadis created and got witnesses to back up, including even a colonel at Kimeu's office who saw him at 8:30 that morning. To cut a long story short, given the timelines, it was not possible for Bwana Kimeu to get the window of opportunity to murder his wife. Secondly, there was also clearly a struggle. She was strangled, and she was a soldier. So it could not have been easy. There was definitely a major struggle. And even the bedroom had evidence to suggest that there was a major struggle in that bedroom before she was transferred to the bathroom. And Major Kisila was examined carefully. He had no scratches, nothing on him to prove that actually there'd been a struggle. And so Kisila was acquitted. And unfortunately, today, 40 years later, we still don't know who murdered Judy Angaine. However, a lot of circumstantial evidence points at Paul Ngei. Using his power as a minister then, he was not really interviewed by the police. And Paul Ngei had quite a history with women, including violence. Violence is involved in some of his history with women. Because, for instance, he was expelled from Makerere College after he knifed a fellow student and they were fighting over a woman. You could hardly blame the police at the time because in those days, Paul Ngei was untouchable. Very close to President Jomo Kenyatta. They had been in Kapenguria together. Anyway, this is one cold case that will probably never be solved because Paul Ngei passed on. Many of the people involved passed on. However, Major David Kimeu Kisila returned to the army, and he climbed through the ranks and retired when he was a lieutenant colonel many years later. Now, one of the many similarities between this case and that of the late Sharon Otieno are moral issues. Some Kenyans have failed to understand that murder is murder, and especially when you murder a woman, it doesn't matter what kind of woman she was. You have murdered her, and therefore under the law, you must face justice. Indeed, I dare say, Judy Angaine's case was much worse, if you're talking about morals, compared to Sharon Otieno. Anyway, we'll go for a brief commercial break. When we come back, we'll find out the latest concerning the Sharon Otieno case. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, Michael Oyamo has been remanded in police custody for another 14 days. And according to the police and according to the court, at the end of those 14 days, he is going to be charged with murder, the murder of Sharon Otieno. But the police are not quite ready yet to present him in court on the charge. It seems they're tying up the evidence. They're saying they're putting together the evidence, which means that there will be other co-accused that should be presented in court with those charges along with Michael Oyamo. That is precisely what it means. Now, details have emerged that prove that the governor of Migori, Helen Obado, has quite a long past, a long history with Michael Oyamo. About 22 years ago, the Migori governor was a teacher at Rapogi High School. Now, Rapogi High School is the same school where Sharon Otieno's former husband, Bernard Okuta, is still a teacher today. Anyway, when Bwana Obado was still a teacher, one of his best students was Mr. Oyamo. And it is said that Oyamo was very good in physics. One of the subjects that Obado taught was physics. The other subject he taught at the school was accounting. It seems the two first met as far back as 1986, when Bwana Michael Oyamo joined Form 1. and had Mr. Obado as his teacher. Yeah, and it is said at that time, Obado showed no signs, no interest at all in politics. This relationship from a long time ago probably explains why Mr. Obado decided to rescue Mr. Oyamo, because that's the word being used, rescue. You see, it is said that when Oyamo left the military, he left with a lot of money. And one of the things he did was to start a bus service between Migori and Nairobi. But as he ran this business, it reached a point where it went belly up, it collapsed. And Bwana Oyamo ended up in some serious financial problems. Yeah, that's until the beginning of 2016 when Obado employed him, yeah, to work for him in the Migori County government. I'm sure if Bwana Oyamo was able to turn back the clock, yeah, to that time, that is an appointment he would never accept. Anyway, that's life. We're not able to look into the future. We're not able to see the future, what will happen in the future, and to be able to avoid things very early. Now, impeccable sources have told me that actually what happened yesterday is that the Migori governor was flown to Nairobi, yeah, by detectives. And many believed he was in police custody, yeah. In fact, there are reports that he was going to be presented in court today, yeah. But that didn't happen. Instead, Bwana Obado came out with a press conference. Now, in this press conference, he was accompanied by his entire family, his wife and his two children, at least part of his entire family. But what stood out most, yeah, and caught the attention of quite a number of reporters, was the expression on his wife's face. She didn't speak, and indeed when people speak they can lie, but the expression on her face told a story. You know, body language never lies. Now, it is also true that one of the ways in which a man is different from a woman is that a man can hide many things. A man can pretend. A man can act. However, there are some things which become too much for a woman. And it ends up in a situation where that woman cannot hide her feelings, no matter how hard she tries. Especially if those feelings are feelings of disgust. Yeah. Because one of the things which came out very clearly from the body language of Mrs. Obado is that she did not want to be there. She was at that press conference very, very reluctantly. Now, I don't know. In fact, I have no idea what the reason may be. However, I can speculate. And my speculation may have something to do with what the lawyer made public today, what the lawyer told the press. And I'll come to that in a minute. Now, this press conference, Bwana Obado refused to answer questions of the press. Indeed, one of the most telling questions, which he could not avoid, was why now? The press had really been trying to get to him. They had been trying to talk to him, but he had evaded them. So why now? Why had he decided to talk to the press now? Of course, he evaded that question, by saying that he has not been trying to avoid the press, which of course is not true. The long and short of what came out was that this was a very well choreographed, very well strategized and prepared PR activity, a public relations activity. And the objective of this public relations activity was to try and create a brand new image of the governor of Migori, Okoth Obado. The image of a law-abiding citizen, a man who has nothing to do with violence, political or otherwise, a very good man who is being lynched by the public for nothing. Indeed, this press conference was supposed to show us a family man, a very responsible family man, who should not be connected with such a brutal murder. However, if the governor paid a public relations company to do this whole publicity stunt, he wasted his money. Because long before the murder of Sharon Otieno, the public already had a very clear perception of what kind of person Bwana Okoth Obado is. His battles with the ODM party were very well publicized. Many Kenyans know about them. And it is very difficult to paint the picture of a brand new person, and Kenyans completely dissociate this brand new person with the drama we have seen with his battles with the ODM party. That is even more difficult, yeah, because several people have admitted that actually there was a relationship between the governor and the late Sharon Otieno. The governor himself is on record as having said he knew her. And today, his lawyer took it even further. Yeah, the lawyer said that actually their relationship was in the public domain. People knew about it. And even mentioned social media and photographs in the social media. Now, that is very interesting because the photographs on social media have been very sexual in character. So this is a very strange strategy, yeah, by Bwana Obado's team, PR public relations team, because you have the governor with his nice family, yeah, in a press conference, and then on the other hand, you have his lawyer admitting that he had a relationship with the late Sharon Otieno. And we know that Bwana Obado is a married man. He presented his wife and his family to us today. Now, those two are contradictions, yeah, and indeed, in my view, this is a press conference the governor needn't have bothered to have. More so because it must have been very hard work for him, yeah, because he tried his best to look confident, he was smiling, until he thought the cameras were not on him, yeah, because as he left, and as you can see on your screens right now, his expression quickly changed to that of a very worried man. In my view, this public relations stunt just made things worse. It would have been better if he had continued staying out of sight, yeah, and to make efforts to produce evidence to prove that he had nothing to do with this murder. And to make matters even worse for the governor, his personal assistant, on the same day that he has this press conference, yeah, appears in High Court, yeah, and in the High Court we are told that he's going to be charged with murder, and this is the personal assistant of Bwana Obado. Now it is easy to sympathize, yeah, and imagine what he could be going through. However, it is very, very difficult, virtually impossible, for anybody to qualify the statement that is being disturbed for nothing. If the governor of Migori, yeah, who is a married man, had a relationship with Sharon Otieno, he is definitely not being disturbed for nothing. There was a link. And the speculation and the public interest, yeah, is natural. Indeed, had it been missing, it would be unnatural, very strange. So what is happening is just normal. The governor also took time to take a swipe at political leaders who are crucifying him. And this is part of his rhetoric that this whole thing is political, that is completely innocent, and the only reason why it's being roasted by the public is because it's political. Now, that is a very interesting aspect of this case, because the politicians, yeah, the politicians who are lawyers, who have ganged up against Bwana Obado, raises a question on my mind. And that question is simply this: do these lawyers know something that the public does not know? Because lawyers are many things, but for a lawyer to stand up and point at somebody, hapo iko kitu. There's something there, definitely. Anyway, if the governor cannot sleep tonight, the governor of Migori, if he finds sleep difficult, as he told us at the press conference, if he finds that he has no appetite, yeah, as he told us at the press conference, he needs to remember that the mother of Sharon Otieno, yeah, and indeed her family, are also going through exactly the same. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.